Just to give you a little bit of background about this award, the Governor's Police Officer of the Year Award was first presented in 1984 to recognize either a single police officer or a team of police officers for exceptional acts or an exceptional act of valor. The agency that I run, the Division of Criminal Justice Services, coordinates the work of a selection committee. That committee reviews nominations submitted every year by law enforcement agencies across the state. And every year, the committee has a very difficult decision to make in picking one award winner from that group of nominations. This year was certainly no different. One of the members of our award committee, Margaret Ryan, the Executive Director of the New York State Association of Chiefs of Police, is with us today. Margaret, thank you for being with us. Now, including today's honoree, and I think everyone knows today's honoree is Syracuse Police Officer Kelsey Fransimone, but including Officer Fransimone, 111 officers from 18 agencies across the state have received this award. Although there have been 111 other officers to receive the award, Officer Fransimone's recognition here is unique in a few ways. First, she is the first female police officer to be honored as the sole recipient of this award. 3 other female police officers have been recognized jointly with teams of colleagues with this award, but Officer Fransimone is the first female officer to receive the award individually. Officer Fransimone is also the first member of the Syracuse Police Department to receive this award, and also the first member of an Onondaga County police agency to receive this award. And I'm sure all of those facts do and should make Officer Fransimone and her family, Chief Fowler and the Syracuse Police Department, and the entire Onondaga County public safety family proud. In addition to Officer Fransimone, there were 12 other officers from 6 other agencies who were nominated for this award this year. Every one of those nominations recounted just exceptional acts of valor, either by individual police officers or by teams of police officers. As I indicated, it was a very difficult decision in one sense, but Officer Fransimone's conduct certainly stood out in another. Each of those officers or teams of officers will receive a certificate of exceptional valor from Governor Cuomo recognizing their nomination. At this point, I'm going to introduce our Lieutenant Governor so she can tell you a little more about Officer Fransimone and why she's being honored here today. But we have Lieutenant Governor Kathy Hochul with us. She was first elected in 2014. Prior to her role as a statewide elected official, she was elected on both the federal and local level. I think as many of you know, she was a member of Congress representing New York's 26th congressional district. She served as Erie County Clerk and began her career in public office on a local town board. The Lieutenant Governor chairs Governor Cuomo's Regional Economic Development Councils, which have reinvented economic development by empowering local leaders in business and academia. Lieutenant Governor Hochul also chairs the New York State Women's Suffrage Centennial Commission to celebrate the 100th anniversary of women's right to vote, and she chairs the Governor's Heroin and Opioid Task Force to combat the addiction epidemic, and she leads the Governor's Tech Workforce Task Force to ensure our state's success in the 21st century economy. She continues to advocate on behalf of all New Yorkers, championing campaigns for many of the governor's signature legislation, from raising the minimum wage to making college affordable for families, and she prioritizes being the governor's eyes and ears on the ground as she visits all 62 counties every year she's in office. In addition to all that, she's a great friend to law enforcement, a great friend to us at DCJS, and is always there for us to help us as we both remember police officers every year who gave their lives in the line of duty and honor police officers for their exceptional valor. So ladies and gentlemen, please help me in welcoming the 77th Lieutenant Governor of the State of New York, Kathy Hochul.
Thank you, Commissioner Green, for the incredible work you do protecting the people of the state of New York. Also, the representatives from the state police. I spend an enormous amount of time with state police, probably more time than I do with my family. So I thank you for your continued service. And our local law enforcement, particularly Chief Fowler, I want to thank you for your incredible work protecting the people of this city that I came to know quite well as a Syracuse University student many, many years ago, and at a time when defeating Clemson a dream. And I know you have a daughter there now, so it's great to make the connection with my second hometown. Also, I want to recognize the family here as well. Kelsey's joined by her mother, Amy, and I was telling, let's see, where's Amy? Amy, hi, Amy. Telling Amy that, mothers are in an interesting position when the kids take a wrong path or screw up, the mother is somehow blamed for this, and therefore she shares in this glory today in what her daughter has accomplished for raising a good public servant, and that is what your daughter is. And certainly Kelsey with the sisters, I believe, is here as well, and your grandparents, Ed and Michelle. Thank you for having the influence on this family. And this is a family of servants. There are a number who've taken the oath of office to protect their communities and law enforcement. There's also members of the military. And so this is really a unique American family who are patriots. And that is why it's particularly special for me to be here and recognize what Kelsey accomplished. Simply, she would say, doing her job. And that's an interesting way of looking at it, because just a week ago, we lost one of our own in Buffalo in the river just outside where I live, who is simply training for his job as well. So I appreciate the moment of silence we had just moments ago, but that's also a reminder of the daily dangers that these individuals who take the oath and wear the badge put themselves into, and truly the unsung heroes who just keep the peace day to day. And only when that peace breaks down do we propel them into the limelight. But they deserve our heartfelt thanks every single day for their willingness to get up, put the uniform, and to go into neighborhoods where there are unknown dangers. And that's exactly what happened on Father's Day in 2016. It's just an ordinary day, people probably having picnics and celebrating their fathers, and just an ordinary summer Sunday. Yet there was something else going on, and this brave woman who had only been out of the force a short time, about a year and a half on the road, the youngest person in her class, came out when she was 21 years old. And she knew that there was something that she needed to take care of. She was actually called to respond to some disturbances. And I'll go into the details because they're quite chilling. They're quite chilling to know what she actually ran into when other people were running out. And that is the chilling video that I saw, that I believe this community saw, of the courage it took for someone on their own, first on the scene, with only a short time on the force, ran into danger the same as a firefighter would run into a burning building without regard for themselves and their own safety. They are just doing what they're trained to do in their job. And that is what is so powerful about Kelsey's story. She went where others may have hesitated and said, I'll wait for backup, I need to see what's going on. She knew that she was needed at that moment. Her community needed her to perhaps stop killing when there were gunshots. And that is what I define as a supreme act of courage. Let me tell you about that day. The police officers called her, she responded. There was no victim in sight, but she heard the sound of gunfire. As I mentioned, she immediately ran in the direction of the gunshots as panicked people ran in the opposite direction. On the scene, she confronted an armed individual who was firing in the crowd. And she used her smart instincts. She heard noise, but she did not just shoot. She made sure that she had in the sights the individual who was causing the harm, sparing the lives of innocent victims. That was the judgment call you had to make at that moment, and it was wisely done. You ordered him to drop his weapon, and when he did not, you fired your weapon, mortally wounding him. And you also tried to disarm him and also render aid. Can you imagine that? Someone who was just on the verge of killing her, she's there to render assistance going into really the fog of war when you think about what was going on that night. And at that time, instead of people respecting the situation you were in, you became, in a sense, a victim, kicked and punched and beaten for simply trying to render help to someone who was down. Ladies and gentlemen, how many people could do that? That takes a special person. And that is why we are here today. People know the rest of the story. When other officers arrive, and a riot basically ensued. And it showed that there were 40 shell casings on the scene from at least 6 guns. This could have exploded into a situation, whether it was Las Vegas or Charlottesville or Dallas. You don't know what you're getting into anymore. And that is the awe which I consider the work of the police today. We have so many examples around our country where it really implodes into a far more explosive situation. And you help prevent that by being there on the scene early, and the officers who responded quickly. I think that needs to be recognized as well. This was a volatile situation which could have blown up even more than it had. The bravery you exhibited that night is, again, humbling for the rest of us as we ponder, could we have done the same? And again, that is why you were recognized by the National Association of Police Organizations. You received your Top Cops Award in May. We're proud of that. And again, you said you were trained to do this, and we had a conversation. You said, I said, you acted as if you had been on the force for decades with the instantaneous judgment that you exercised at that moment. But she said it was her recent training that kept it fresh in her mind, and that was an interesting perspective, that being a rookie, her instincts were really finely honed to know the latest techniques and how to handle the latest threats. And that is also why we commend you today. Yes, you were trained to do it, but law enforcement is always trained to do this. But your acumen in those moments of stress and the need of your community were exhibited. And that is something that you'll always have as part of your experience. We are so honored to be able to present this award to you today. And I think about, again, all the members of the police force. We continue to pray for their safety, because each day could be a day like this, a day like a Father's Day back in 2016, where you just don't know what you're going to encounter. So I think as a community and as a state, we need to do more to show appreciation to these individuals than we do today. To only see police officers when there's conflict with community is a wrong portrayal of our men and women in blue. And I want stories like this to be elevated and told all across the state, as well as the other individuals who are receiving recognition from the governor. That is the true story of the brave men and women who comprise our law enforcement forces. I want that story told louder than it is. And so it is with great pride on behalf of the governor and the people of the state of New York that we are about to confer this award on you. And I know that I'm looking at the face of law enforcement in society today. Someone who's sharp, someone who could have had a career doing anything else, but is that special calling, that sense of duty that, thank God for us, called Kelsey to the force, because she was there when her community needed her most. Congratulations, Kelsey. Governor's Police Officer of the Year Award, presented to you in recognition of your exceptional valor in service to the people of the state of New York, thereby upholding the highest traditions of law enforcement. Governor Andrew M. Cuomo in the state of New York.
Yeah, I know. No matter how many times I do this, I never get used to it, surprisingly. But, I mean, this is an insane honor. Thank you so much. I really appreciate all of this. It makes that night definitely worthwhile. I mean, thank you to the whole department, especially the chiefs. I know I can be a handful, and I'm sure this whole thing was a headache for you guys, but I really appreciate everything, even the personal phone calls and texts afterward, where they really helped everything and made me calm down a little bit with everything going on. But it was a lot to my coworkers that night too, because if it wasn't for them, I might not be standing here. So just them and the training that we receive as a department on the whole is definitely something. But I mean, and thank you, Mom. I'm sorry for the gray hair. I know I apologized before, but Grandpa, I don't know what happened to you that was before me. So, I mean, thank you again. I really appreciate this a lot. So, thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Lieutenant Governor, thank you very much for honoring Officer Francimone. We're indeed proud of her, as I am of the entire police department. When I stand before a crowd of young people on the swearing-in day, I say to them, there's two things that you need in order to do this job and to do this job effectively, and that is courage and integrity. And you cannot do the job without both of them being in place all the time. And on that night, that courage and integrity was ever present with Officer Francimone. And I say to the families, I make them a promise that their loved ones are going to receive the best training that we can possibly give them. And it was a combination of all that I had just mentioned that came to play that night. It is said that heroes are formed when preparation meets opportunity. And an opportunity presented itself that night, an unfortunate opportunity, but an opportunity nonetheless. And because Officer Francimone was prepared, and was prepared because of the talented group of people here at the Syracuse Police Department through the training that she had received, had prepared her for that moment. And she knew what to do. She knew what was expected of her, and she did what others would often turn or run away from, and she ran toward. And that is a testament of what we do here at the Syracuse Police Department. And Kelsey, thank you for being the poster child for us. Through the awards that you have received, that you've given the Syracuse Police, given the entire world an opportunity to see what the Syracuse Police Department has to offer, not just this community, not just this state, but this entire country. And we are indeed proud of you for what you've done. And I just want to thank you all for attending here today. I see we have members of the media. I'm told that people here are available for questions afterwards if you have any additional questions. And thank you all for attending, and this concludes our ceremony.